Hey, welcome back. Today we are going to be chatting about the age-old debate of which type of program is better, a front-loaded or an integrated type program. Now, the question really isn't which one is better. It's going to be which one is better for you and your personality type and your learning style. So, we're going to break down some pros and cons of each type of program, and you can decide for yourself how that sounds to you and how your learning style is going to fit in. So, first, let's break down the definition of a front loaded program. So, a front loaded program is going to be front loading all of their didactic classroom book work. So, that means you are going to be in school studying 5 days a week with no clinical. And you'll typically do this for about the first year. And now that all programs are doctorate degree programs, that means that students are required to do a DNP project, a research project. So many programs are putting on all of those research statistics classes up front, kind of even prolonging a little bit more of that front loaded didactic coursework just because you have more classes to take. So in a front loaded program, you're going to be focusing the first year on learning everything. That means you're going to be taking all of your science classes, everything that you need to know to be prepared to walk into that OR that second year. You're going to start to have a sim lab day, and then you're going to have some shadow days, and then you're going to be in the OR maybe once a week. They're going to slowly ease you into it, but primarily you're going to have all of your book work upfront that first year. Now let's talk about the definition of an integrated program. An integrated program is integrating your clinicals and your classwork at the same time. Now, more and more programs are sort of adapting more of a hybrid model where maybe truly they used to be an integrated program where 3 months into the program, you're starting in the OR. Now they might be prolonging that a little bit more to maybe 6 months, 9 months, and they're tacking on those research classes at the beginning. So they're not technically truly integrated programs, but they are a little more integrated than others. You are setting foot into the OR a little earlier than maybe a truly front loaded program. And they're going to try to do a better job of matching you up with your classes and then having you do a rotation in that particular specialty right after you've taken that class. So, for example, you're going to do your trauma class, then you're going to do your trauma rotation. Then you're going to take your pediatrics class, then you're going to go do your peds rotation so that you're really marrying the concepts that you're learning in the classroom with the experiences that you're seeing in the operating room. So let's go through some pros and cons of each and kind of talk about why one might be a better fit for you than another. So the pros of a front loaded program is that you're really prepared educationally when you finally set foot in the operating room. You are learning all of the science, all of the anesthesia. You're really going to understand what you are seeing in the operating room from an education point of view. You're going to feel prepared and you're going to feel a little more safe. So that is the type of program that I attended and I really liked that. I liked just focusing on the book work for a year and really just diving deep, getting that rhythm of studying. And then when I set foot in the operating room, I felt like I knew what was going on. I knew what the drugs they were giving, what the doses they were giving. And if I didn't, I knew where to look and look and had a general sense of what the overall goal was of certain types of procedures where we were doing or drugs that we were administering. I never really felt like I was super caught off guard or totally unprepared. The second benefit or pro of a front loaded program is you're not struggling balancing working and studying. You're not coming home from clinical after a long, emotionally stressful, taxing day and having to open up your book and prepare for an exam or have to write a paper. In a front loaded program, you're really able to get in the groove of studying. You're not doing so much oscillating back and forth. Another pro of a front loaded program, and truthfully, this kind of depends on exactly which program you attend, but you might have more opportunity to travel to different clinical sites. If your program has a lot of remote clinical sites or all CRNA practices that are a little further away, in a front loaded program, you might have more opportunity to expand your boundaries a little bit further. You're not so tied to the classroom and having to be there every week for class. Now, many more programs are doing more online classes, so this really might not be an issue, but this is something to consider when you're comparing clinical sites and whether or not these classes and whether or not these programs are front loaded and integrated is, are you really getting an opportunity to go to a lot of different clinical sites and go to that critical access hospital, go to that remote location where you're serving an underserved population, or you're working with CRNAs who are solo providers? Are you working at all CRNA practices? Are you able to travel 2 hours away to a location that maybe is a little closer to your family? Definitely something to consider is look a little closer at those clinical sites and that spread of experience that you're getting. Let's talk about the cons of a front loaded program. You're out of the hospital for a year. You might start to feel like, man, I think I'm going to be a little rusty. Well, I went to a front loaded program and I can tell you that yes, you're a little fumbly, but that goes away after a couple of weeks. It's like muscle memory. It's like riding a bike. You're not going to forget how to draw up medications. You're not going to forget how to put an IV. Trust me. And speaking from somebody who took quite a few months off of maternity leave, I also had that same fear of going back to work. Like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to intubate? One day, it's all it took. I was back. It's fine. So, yes, you might be thinking that could be a big deal. And that could be a con for you is that you're out of the OR for a year. Another con of a front loaded program is you might feel even more so like you're drinking from a fire hose. And that's kind of the joke in CRNA school is that's what CRNA school is like. It's like you're drinking from a fire hose. The amount of information that you are expected to learn and keep up with and absorb and understand so in depth is a lot. But it might be a little more exaggerated in a front loaded program because you are having to take all those classes up front. And mostly for front loaded programs, you are still taking a class a week at that last year of your program where you're mostly in clinicals because you're going to have a lot of specialty classes that you're going to be taking at the end. So you might not fully be front loading everything. You might have some classes at the end, but it's just going to be one class a week or one day of school a week and then 4 days of clinical. So that is another con of a front loaded program is yes, all the book work is upfront and that could be a lot. So now let's switch gears and talk about an integrated program. What are the pros? All right, so the biggest pro with an integrated program is your learning is reinforced. You're studying these procedures and these drugs and these types of cases in the classroom, and then you're going to go experience that in real life, and you can really reinforce what you're learning by what you're doing. So that's a big pro of an integrated program. Another pro of an integrated program is you're not out of the hospital for a year. You do not lose that sense of feeling out of touch. So while I personally don't think that's a big deal, for some people, it is something to consider. A con of an integrated program. So you're not going to necessarily feel prepared for every single situation that you're in. And I think as a student, this is just a general underlying theme is you aren't going to feel prepared, but it might be a little more exaggerated in an integrated program. There might be a really cool thoracic case going on that you would love to see, but you didn't do your thoracic lecture yet, so you have really no idea about a double lumen tube. Or say there is a jet ventilation case going on, but you did not have your jet ventilation lecture yet, so you might not fully understand everything that's happening. Does this mean that those experiences are going to be any less valuable? No, but if you're the type of person who likes to feel really prepared before walking into a situation, then maybe a front-loaded program is better for you. Another con of an integrated program is you are going to have to balance studying and going to clinical at the same time. Clinicals are very overwhelming. Think about what it was like orienting as a new graduate nurse, or if you've ever switched jobs, or if you were a traveler. Not knowing where things are, having to deal with the stress of working with new preceptors in different locations, like all very emotionally and physically draining. So imagine that and then having to go home and study or having to prepare for a presentation the next day. You really have to be good at managing your time and switching gears from clinical you and classroom you. So That's another thing to consider. Another con of an integrated program, which kind of coincides with one of the pros of the front loaded program, is that clinical site spread that I was talking about. So you are going to be tied to the classroom. You are going to be in clinicals and going to school at the same time. So are you going to be rotating to a different state? Are you going to get to go travel elsewhere to do a clinical site? Maybe, maybe not. That could be another potential con of a truly integrated program. So, when you are interviewing and when you are researching these programs, that is what you need to ask. These are the type of things you need to figure out. Number one, what is the clinical site and how far away are they? Number two, what is the quality of those clinical sites? If you're starting to notice that all the integrated programs that you're looking into or interviewing with are only having you rotate at clinical sites that are within an hour of campus, take a second look at that and see, are you going to be able to hit your numbers? Are you going to be able to get quality clinical experience and be exposed to a variety of cases and a variety of clinical settings because you deserve that education? So just a little tidbit of my personal experience here. Like I said, I went to a front loaded program and I personally loved that format. Obviously, I can't compare it because I didn't go to an integrated program, but for me, I really wanted to feel prepared going into my clinicals. And I don't do well switching gears from one thing to the other. When I'm in clinical, even though we only had one class a week, I was stressed about having to study for those exams. And when I was in clinical, I was exhausted at the end of the day. I was beat. I could not imagine having to study and wake up and take an exam the next day after clinicals. So for me, an integrated program really worked well. In my program as well, there were quite a few students who got to travel to remote sites. People got to go to Arizona. People got to go down to Richmond, 3 hours away, and get great regional experience. They went up to Johns Hopkins. They got excellent experience there. We had clinical sites that were far away, and students were able to rotate to these awesome places because we were a front loaded program. So, overall, just some things to consider. I think that this really depends very specifically on what schools you are applying to. I do not think that you should be only looking at front loaded or only looking at integrated programs just because you think that that's what you're going to do better in. I think it's much more than that. You need to be looking at the clinical sites, the types of experiences you're getting. Are you going to be getting quality regional experience? Are you going to be getting experience at an all CRNA facility? And I think all of those pieces combined are really going to help you decide, hey, is this program worth it? Is school A worth it? That's an integrated program, but I'm getting awesome clinical experience over B. This is a front loaded program, but the clinical sites aren't super amazing. Those are things to consider. And I think that bigger picture is what's going to ultimately tip the scale for you. So if you haven't already watched our free masterclass, Getting into CRNA School 101, definitely check that out. We talk more about getting into CRNA school, picking a school, all things CRNA. And also we have a school database that is for sale. I will link that below. And we have all programs in there and you can filter by type of program, tuition cost, what type of experience they require. So if you're a NICU or PICU or ER nurse, you can filter by what schools accepts that type of experience. It's really cool. We have personal essay prompts in there as well, and you can even filter by what prerequisites are required so you can figure out what types of classes you need to retake again. But anyway, that's our CRNA school database. Shameless plug there. But I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you again next time.